Welcome back. Shabbat Shalom again. Welcome back to the chat. Heavenly Garden, Stephen, Brother Stephen Kelly, Mark, and Dreams Lover. Welcome back. We're continuing our study in the prophecy of Jeremiah. We're going to be in chapter 49, which is going to cover Moab. It's going to cover Edom, and it's going to cover the Elamites. We're going to talk about the Elamites. Now, in all the nations, I want to also stress a couple of things that we talked about already. First, the majority of peoples, the majority populations in these areas of the Middle East are not the original people. Oftentimes, there are remnants of the original people in those nations. Like we're going to talk about Elam, which used to be, was now called Iran, was Elam. It was Persia, then Elam. Elam, Persia, then Iran. Let me get that correct. It was first Elam, then it was Persia, then it was Iran. There's Hebrews there. There's original Semites there. There is that situation. They're the poorest, the lowest caste, and that's the situation in all of those nations: Jordan, Syria, Iran, Iraq, all of those nations, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Egypt. They all have, of the poorest sort, the Most High's people are there. The ones that he's going to bless are there. Some of them are Israelites. Some of them are original to the land from Elam or from Moab or Ammon. I don't know the difference because they're all melanated. And some of them were brought as slaves there from the Hebrews from Africa, brought there as slaves. So those people are in all of those lands as a minority, small groups usually. And it's interesting when you look at it because in the United States, the Hebrews generally make up about 10 to 14% of the population in the United States, depending on the census. And it's the same all across the world. So when you see Hebrews or chosen peoples of the Most High that are poor, that are despised, that are oppressed in all of these lands, they generally make up 10 to 14, 15% of the population. It's the same percentage across the board. So it's interesting when you see it. But and there's a lot of very interesting historical YouTube videos on that. Matter of fact, let me see if I can recommend. You know what I'll do? I'll put a couple of them in the description box. There's some people that have put together some very good historical information on all of these nations of the diaspora. So they don't all know they're Hebrews, but I'm gonna put some of them in the description box after we're done here. So we'll continue that. Again, welcome back, Sister Junior. Welcome back to all those that are heart stuck. Welcome back, Isha. All of you, Brother Williams. Welcome back to all of you as we're continuing our study. So we just did the Moabites, and we talked about the Philistines. Okay, and again, just like the rest, there's some scattered minorities of people. And I'm not even talking about those that left the U.S. to go to Dimona. I'm not even talking about them. They're about to get deported from the nation of Israel. Y'all heard about that, right? The people that came in the 1960s to Dimona and established a community there from the United States, the Hebrews that came there, they're about to get deported. Okay, they're about to get deported. The present system in the state of Israel is trying to deport them. And so, yeah, it's all coming together. But there are people that were there for thousands of years. There are this small minorities of people that are in those areas that have been there a long, long time, thousands of years. So, it's prophetic. It's all coming to pass. And the Most High is showing us all of this in this book right here. Isn't that amazing? All of the things that we're talking about that are happening right now been written in here. Long time. Okay. Now, of course, I want to just stress, we need to understand this 1611 King James Bible does not include Apocrypha because Apocrypha was added to it. Now, you could choose to read Apocrypha or not. That's your business. I've read it so I can say I wrote it. I read the whole thing. I don't think it's inspired scripture. Okay. But the other books that are shown to us that are here, Genesis to Revelation, read those books, man. Read that. Read it through. Read it straight through, and then read it again straight through. You will be ahead of the game. Believe it. There are people that are in so-called, we call them seminaries, theological seminaries, that don't know this book. That they're sent out to teach and don't even know the book. It's a shame, but it's true. It's true. It's the way things are today. So that if you study the whole Bible, if you read the whole thing from Genesis to Revelation, you'll be way ahead in understanding who you are. You'll be way ahead of anybody coming out of any seminar, reverend, doctor, whatever. You'll be way ahead of them. Way ahead of them. Okay? Because they don't even, I don't know, they got another God, right? That's the way it is. But anyway, read your Bible. Read your Bible. So we're going to today looking at Jeremiah chapter 49. So let's start, because we're going to go again. We're going to be going to Daniel. We're going to look at some other prophets, as we have been doing. In fact, before we start, let's just review. We're talking about Ammon now. So let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 2 and just look at that again. Ammon and Deuteronomy chapter 2. Now, of course, Deuteronomy is not just it's the book of the law. It calls itself that, the book of the law, but it's Deuteronomy. Adabarim means these be the words. The beginning of the book tells you what the title is, and it starts, these be the words, right? And as part of giving the law and the judgments and the statutes, they also give the history of how they got to that point. That includes Edom, Moab, and Ammon, part of the history. Okay, so let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 2, and let's look at verse 18. Let's start to verse 17. Let's start at verse 17, and from verse 17 down to verse 19. That Yahweh spake unto me, saying, Thou art to pass over through Ar, the coast of Moab, this day. And when thou comest nigh over against the children of Ammon, distress them not, nor meddle with them. For I will not give thee the land of the children of Ammon any possession, because I have given it unto the children of Lot for a possession. So you can see here, he's not given Israel Lot's children's land. But the Bible does tell us that in the kingdom, we will possess them. Doesn't mean we're going to control, like in terms of take over their land, but they're going to be subservient to us, to the Israelites, because the chosen people is the Israelite people. But Ammon is going to get a blessing in that, as we're going to read, as we have seen. They're going to have the ones that are in that land now, that are the poor, the despised, people of color, that are really the true people there. They're going to end up taking over that land when the kingdom is established. They're going to end up being kings again in that land. Only difference is they'll be called by the name of Yah instead of by the name of Chemosh or whatever other gods they were worshiping over there. Okay, so now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 49. And again, Jeremiah 49 is the last of the kingdoms that it talks about in terms of Babylon taking over. And we know that today, again, Babylon is worldwide. But what I want to stress too, what Jeremiah is focused on, and what the prophets of the Israelite prophets of the Bible are focused on, is the nations that had dealings directly with the chosen people. As we talked about when we looked at Zechariah, for example, Zechariah chapter 1. Zechariah chapter 1. Beginning at verse 18 and going down to verse 21 of Zechariah chapter 1. Then lifted I up my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And Yahweh showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I, What come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. But these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it. Now going down into chapter 2, notice what it says about the Israelites. I'm going to go from verse 1, chapter 2, down to verse 8. I lifted up my eyes again and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, whither goest thou? And he said unto me, to measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof. And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I, saith Yahweh, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and I will be the glory in the midst of her. Ho, come forth, and flee from the land of the north, saith Yahweh. For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heavens, saith Yahweh. Deliver thyself, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye. So the nations that caused us to be scattered, the four nations, which was Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, and Rome, he focuses on us because of their dealings with us. The nations that dwelt around the chosen people, Elamites, Moab, Ammon, Edom, he has to deal with them because they were directly involved with us. And that's why he says, I'm going to make a full end of all the nations that you've been scattered into. Why would he say that? Why does he hate the nations we've been scattered into? Because they are the ones that brought us captives, that made us slaves. Okay? I'm going to make a full end of them, he said. But I'm not going to make a full end of you. So again, the Bible focuses on the Israelite people. The focus is there. Christianity has tried to teach us to focus on Gentiles. The Bible doesn't do that. Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles, and he said, I magnify my office. But he was an Israelite chosen to teach Gentiles. Y'all should remember that. And he reminded them by telling them, you're not even natural branches in this olive tree. You unnatural branches that are grafted into this olive tree. And he said, don't get wise in your own conceits and think you higher than the natural branches. But see, this is what happened with Christianity. They have destroyed, they have maligned, they have misrepresented the Father. They have misrepresented Messiah, drawing pictures of him as some Caucasian man. They have misrepresented the nation by creating a Christianity that does not exist in the Bible. But the Most High did never say about Christians, you're the apple of my eye. He said that about Israel. Okay, he said that about Israel. And so the Bible is focused and centered on redemption, but on redemption of the Israelite people first as the chosen ones, and then the rest of the earth after. That's the order. To the Jew first, and also to the Greek. Okay, so again, we've been twisted and brainwashed and bamboozled by Christianity. But the Bible, when you read it, you can see it sets it right. And so Ammon is one of those nations that are around the nation of Israel. In fact, they are bloodline relatives to us. They're Semites, bloodline relatives to us, children of Lot, Abraham's nephew, which is the son of Abraham's brother. Okay, so those bloodline people, they're not direct with us, they're not the chosen, but they are also blessed because of their relation to Abraham. All right. But I'm gonna make a full end of all nations. He says it a couple of times. We read it. I think we read it. I want to say we read it last night. But he said, I'm gonna make a full end of all nations. Yes, we read it last night in chapter 46, and we read it in Jeremiah chapter 30. I'm gonna make a full end, he said, of all the nations that you've been scattered into. I'm gonna bring you out of them. See, don't let nobody tell you, leave Babylon. Yeah, you want to leave Babylon, but the only way you could leave Babylon right now is in the spirit, in the religious world. That means leave all of these religions of Babylon, all these Christians, Muslims, Judaism religions. Leave that for sure. That's Babylon we're talking about. But you can't escape and go into anybody's land and think you leave in the system of Babylon. As long as there's a bank there, you in Babylon. As long as you got to pay taxes, you in Babylon. As long as there's a government that you got to answer to in that land, you're in Babylon. Okay? But you got to be free in your forehead. You got to be free in your forehead, which means in the spirit of perfect righteousness that you're going to get from the Heavenly Father, who is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who he has chosen. Okay, that's the Bible right there. Again, if you want to read the Quran and go follow that, go ahead. That's somebody else's business. You want to go read the Talmud and you think that that's the book, go read that book. But those books contradict this book. And everybody that comes to me say, oh, it's the same thing. No, they contradict this book. This book speaks of no Arab being a prophet. No person from Japhet being a prophet. This book speaks of no chosen people outside of the melanated people of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It says, I have known no other people but y'all. I have sown myself to nobody else. Those other books don't say that. See, they try to get credibility by mentioning Abraham or Moses in them books. It's like, I could say, I know Michael Jordan. Does that make me credible? You see what I'm saying? Just because they mention in them books Moses, and they might mention Israelite, or they might mention Abraham, that don't make them credible. The book itself tells you what's credible. It ain't nothing but Israelites that he recognizes, and those that get grafted into the nation. Okay, so let's continue here with our cousins, the Ammonites. Jeremiah chapter 49, beginning at verse 1. Concerning the Ammonites, thus saith Yahweh, hath Israel no sons? Hath he no heir? Why then doth their king inherit Gad, and his people dwell in his cities? Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will cause an alarm of war to be heard in Rabbah of the Ammonites. Again, he's going to be naming all of these towns and cities that are germane to Ammon. Just like he did the last time, he named ones that were germane to Edom. I mean, not Edom, Moab, and before that, Egypt. Now it's Ammon's turn. So now he's talking about Rabbah. That's one of the main cities of what was the nation that controlled by the Ammonites. And it shall be a desolate heap, and her daughters shall be burned with fire. Then shall Israel be heir unto them that were his heirs, saith Yahweh. How, O Heshbon? For Ai is spoiled. Cry, ye daughters of Rabbah, gird you with sackcloth, lament and run to and fro by the hedges. For their king shall go into captivity, and his priests and his princes together. Wherefore glorious thou in the valleys, thy flowing valley, O backsliding daughter, that trusteth in her treasure, saying, who shall come unto me? Behold, I will bring a fear upon thee, saith the Most High Yahweh of hosts, from all those that be about thee. And ye shall be driven out every man right forth, and none shall gather up him that wandereth. And afterward, watch, afterward I will bring again the captivity of the children of Ammon, saith Yahweh. That was short and sweet, wasn't it? So I'm going to cause you all to be carried into captive. I'm going to sweep you all away. And afterward, I'm going to bring again your captivity. When he says I'm going to bring, just think of it as what he says to Israel. I'm going to bring again the captivity of my people, Israel. That means he's going to gather them together from wherever they are and bring them back to their own land. And they're going to have their own land. And those that took their land are going to be taken off their land. Same thing with Ammon. Same thing. Okay? Same thing. And it's not all the Amalekites, just like it's not all the Israelites. Remember what he said? I'm going to destroy the sinners from among my people. I'm going to destroy the rebellious ones, he says in Ezekiel, from among my people. It's the same with all of them. And we read again. Let's look at what we looked at in Amos. Amos chapter 9. Amos chapter 9. I may want to do Hosea and Amos. I also want to do a study on Zephaniah. Just want to throw it out there because after we finish this one in Jeremiah, I think we might want to go through those books. Hosea, Amos, and Zephaniah. I don't know what order, but I think we want to go through those books. That would be a good thing for us to do, because these books are important for the northern kingdom to understand what happened to the northern kingdom. Okay, so in Amos, chapter 9, let's start at verse 10. Actually, I'm going to start at verse 9. Chapter 9, verse 9. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations, like as corn is sifted in the sieve. Yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. See? All the unrepentant ones, don't care how dark your melanin is. If you're unrepentant, you're going to be destroyed. We say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. It's the same with all of them. With the Edomites, with the Ammonites, with the Moabites, as well as us. Those that are unrepentant will be destroyed. Same with the children of Japhet. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword. Okay? Remember what the Bible says about Japhet now. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. He that leaves into captivity shall go into captivity. Here's the patience and faith of the saints. That's Revelation chapter 13, verse 9. Okay? So it's the same for everybody. And so Israel is really the first, but then it's the same principle for everybody. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. In that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom, and all the heathen which are called by my name, saith Yahweh of hosts. They may possess. In other words, they're going to be in control of nations. Nations are going to have their own kings over them. They're going to be independent nations, but they're going to be under the auspices of Israel. Okay? And that's why he says here, of the heathen. Remember, we start in the word heathen is Gentiles. Remember, we started off in Jeremiah 46, verse 1. This message is for the Gentiles. But he wasn't talking about children of Japhet. He was talking about, as we have read, he's talking about some Hamitic people, Mizraim, remember, Egypt. He was talking about some Semitic people, Moab, Edom, Ammon. Okay, so let's continue. Jeremiah chapter 49. Jeremiah chapter 49, beginning at verse 7. Now we're dealing with Edom. Concerning Edom, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Flee ye, turn back, dwell deep, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I will bring the captivity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him. So again, he's talking about captivity to Esau. Now, I just want to make sure we're clear. The majority of the Edomites went into captivity, but not all. Not all. And why do we have evidence of that in the Bible? Because Herod, the king, was an Edomite. He was an Edomite king in charge of Judea. And he made a deal with the Romans. Even you can see it because there was tension, there was beef between him and Pilate, but over the destruction of the Mashiach, the line of the tribe of Judah, they became friends. That's very significant. So that you had Edomites that were scattered. There's no more land of Edom. Now it's Jordan. And then you had Edomites that went north and connected with Japhet, and later became Ashkenazi Jews. And are in the wrong land. Let's take a look at that. Ezekiel, we've read this before, but of course we can't read it too much. Ezekiel chapter 36. Ezekiel chapter 36. I'm going to begin Ezekiel chapter 36. I'm begin at verse 1, and I'm going to go from chapter 36, verse 1, down to verse 7. Also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, because the enemy have said against you, aha, Even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and ye are taken up in the lips of the talkers and are an infamy of the people. Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Most High Yahweh. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh to the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys, to the desolate wastes, to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and a derision, to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy I have spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Edomia, which have appointed my land unto their possession. Who has appointed Yah's land unto their possession today? And who gave them that land unto their? Did they just come and conquer it, or were they backed by people? Did they have backing? Do they still have backing? Yes, they still have backing. I have spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Edomia, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. Prophesy therefore against the land of Israel, and say to the mountains and to the hills, to the rivers and to the valleys, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. Therefore, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, I have lifted up mine hand, surely the heathen that are round about you, they shall bear their shame. That's so beautiful how we could see it very clearly as the Bible described it. They have appointed Yah's land to their possession. And now you know who that is. Back to Jeremiah chapter 49. Verse 9. If grape gatherers come to thee, will they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. But I have made Esau bare and uncovered his secret places. He shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. For thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. And thou art he that shall altogether go unpunished. Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. So it says all the nations around them drink of the cup of trembling, drink of the cup of Yah's fury, and they think they're going to get away with it? No, they're not. For I have sworn by myself, saith Yahweh, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse. And all the cities thereof shall be a perpetual waste. I have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen, saying, gather ye together and come against her, rise up to the battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. This is deep. I want to stop here for a second. This is deep. He said, I will make you small among the heathen and despised among men. Now, this is a double-edged sword. I want to bring it out. So first, it's the flesh, in the flesh Edomites. Not the children of Yefet that are converted, but in the flesh Edomites, as we mentioned, they're in those nations. They are the minority. They are melanated people. They are 10 to 15% of populations in these areas. They are the lowest caste of these societies. Then there's the spiritual ones, the converts to Judaism, which is an Edomite religion. Let me show you something. Obadiah, very unknown, one-page book, but it talks about Edom. And it's talking about the Edom that's in the wrong land right now. Watch what it says about them. Obadiah is only one chapter, beginning at verse 1. Obadiah beginning at verse 1. And I'm going to go down from verse 1. I don't know where to stop here, because that's I'm going to go to verse 9. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Most High Yahweh concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. The so-called Jewish people are very small in number. If you look up their worldwide population, I don't think it's more than 5 million. There's a very small number of population. But for people that have such a small population, they sure do control a lot of powerful industries, do they not? Hollywood and media in general, right? And their hands are in politics for such a small group of people. I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. Are they not despised even among the heathen? Yes, they are. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? So we're talking more than just a physical habitation. They're high. They're high parts of the earth. They're spiritual wickedness in high places. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, though thou set thy nest among the stars, yet will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh. They're wealthy, they're powerful, they're among the stars of this earth. They're small in number and greatly despised, but they control a lot of stuff. Okay? Banking, central banks are controlled by the Edomites, by the so-called Jewish people. That's no accident. Okay, that's no accident. But the Most High is promising to destroy them. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how thou art cut off. Would they not have stolen till they have enough? It's almost the same thing that we just read in Jeremiah. If grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevail against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Shall I not in that day, saith Yahweh, even destroy the wise men out of Edom and understanding out of Mount of Esau? Thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that everyone that is of Mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. Thy violence against thy brother Jacob, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. It says a lot more, but we'll stop there. It says a lot more in that little 2-pager. That's the prophecy of Edom. But it's the same thing that's being said over here in Jeremiah. You see how you have different prophets, Obadiah, Jeremiah, saying the same thing, right? And if you go through all the Israelite prophets, from Noah all the way to John of the Revelation, they're all Israelite prophets. They're saying the same thing. And here's a lot of one that people really have a hard time with. The Apostle Paul, who was changed from Shaul to Paul, he's an Israelite prophet, and he says the same thing as the other prophets. But people have gotten the doctrines that Christianity has placed upon his epistles and confused them. But if you read them carefully, you will see he's just quoting Israelite prophets in all his letters. He's quoting Israelite prophets. And he is from the tribe of Benjamin of the nation of Israel. And he also looked like an Egyptian. Okay, no problem. Let's continue. Jeremiah chapter 49. You're doing good, Brother Williams. You're doing good. You're doing real good. Jeremiah chapter 49. Let's start where we left off, verse 15. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. Thy terribleness hath deceived thee in the pride of thine heart. O thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rocks. He's almost saying the same thing we just read in Obadiah. O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, that holdest the height of the hill, Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith Yahweh. Also, Edom shall be a desolation. Every one that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof, as in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Yahweh. No man shall abide there, neither shall the Son of Man dwell in it. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the inhabitations of the strong. But I will suddenly make him run away from her. And who is a chosen man that I may appoint over her? For who is like me? And who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh. He that hath taken against Edom, and his purpose is that he hath purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall. At the cry of the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. Behold, he shall come up and fly as the eagle and spread his wings over Basra. And at that day shall the heart of the mighty men of Edom be as the heart of a woman in her pangs. You've seen that phrase a couple of times too. A woman in her pangs, like a woman ready to give birth. Concerning Damascus. All right, so now we're dealing with Damascus. That was it for Edom. Now we're going to Damascus. Concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded. Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea. It cannot be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble and turneth herself to thee. And fear has seized on her. Anguish and sorrows have taken her as a woman in travail. How is the city of praise not left, the city of my joy? Therefore, her young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off in that day, saith Yahweh of hosts. And I will kindle a fire in the wall of Damascus, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. See? So he's dealing with all the nations that were around Israel. So we dealt with Philistine, Ammon, Moab, Edom, Damascus, now Kedar. Concerning Kedar, and concerning the kingdoms of Hazor, which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, shall smite, said the Most High Yahweh. Arise ye, go up to Kedar, and spoil the men of the east. Their tents, their flocks shall they take away. They shall take to themselves, and their curtains and all their vessels. Their camels shall cry unto them, fear on every side. Flee, get you far off, dwell deep, O ye inhabitants of Hazor, saith Yahweh. For Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, have taken counsel against you, and have conceived a purpose against you. Arise, get you up into the wealthy nation that dwelleth without care, saith Yahweh, which have neither gates nor bars, which dwelt alone. And their camels shall be a booty, and the multitude of the booty means spoil, and the multitude of their cattle a spoil. And I will scatter into all the winds them that are the utmost corners, and I will bring their calamity from all sides, saith Yahweh. See, again, it's stressing what I've been saying all along. All of the major peoples, populations of these nations that are around in that land right now are not the original people. The original people have been scattered, destroyed, taken, replaced. Okay? The children of Japhet have come and done it. And they've done it with them themselves in the form of Christianity, and they've done it with Islam. They've done it. Okay? Habor shall be a dwelling for the dragons, and a desolation forever. There shall no man abide there, nor any son of man dwell in it. The word of Yahweh that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam. So this is Elam now. Now Elam again. Elam. Let's just take a look at that real quick. Elam is the firstborn child of Shem. So let's take a look. Elam in Genesis chapter 10. Genesis chapter 10. We're looking at Shem now. They already dealt with Japhet, then they dealt with Ham. Now they're dealing with Shem. The firstborn is last. They're dealing with his family because that's where the chosen people are. So you're dealing with the children of Shem. We're starting in, let's start at verse 21 of Genesis chapter 10. Verse 21. Now these are words that confuse some people, and they start to think that Shem was the youngest. He wasn't the youngest. It's Shem, Ham, Japhet. Japhet's the youngest. But look at the words he puts here in verse 21. Unto Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the brother of Japhet the elder. even to him were children born. See, so he's talking about Shem being the elder. He's Japheth's brother, but he's not calling Japheth the elder. Shem's the elder. And I want you to also notice, they said he is the father of all the children of Eber. Why would he say that? Eber is the word we use for Hebrew, the father of all the children of the Hebrew. Eber was where you got the name Hebrew from. That's why Eber's descendants of his descendants came the chosen people. Eber had 2 sons, and of one of those sons came the chosen people. Okay, Eber had Peleg and Joktan. He had 2 sons, and Peleg, out of Peleg came the chosen people. So Eber is where you get the Hebrew, which is why they call him Abraham the Hebrew, because he was a descendant of Eber. Okay, and they mentioned Eber because he must have been some great one, because we know the chosen people came from him. So he mentions him. The father of all the children of Eber was Shem. Now, verse 22, the children of Shem. The first one, Elam. Then there's Ashur, Arphaxad, Lud, and Aram. And Aram, the youngest of Shem's children, the children of Aram, Uz. Now, you remember Job was of the land of Uz? Remember that? When you read the book of Job, he said there was a man in the east, his name was Job, of the land of Uz. He was a Semite, and he was a descendant of Aram, the youngest son of Shem. Okay, so now we're talking about Elam. Elam is the firstborn of Shem. Okay, he's the firstborn. So the Elamites dwelt, past tense, in the land that's now Iran. They were Elam first. Then they became Persians. Then they became Iranians, which is also, again, stressing the fact that the original people aren't there no more. The original culture, the original people not there. But you still have remnants of them like every place else. In Iran, there's some black people. A lot of them black people live in the southern part of Iran, and some of them came as a result of slavery. They came there because Israel was enslaved all over the earth. And some of them are the original inhabitants that were there all along, but only 10 to 15% of the population. And everybody was converted to Islam by the Arabs. Okay? Everybody was converted to Islam by the Arabs. That's why you had to change. Okay? And see, if you talk to people from Iran today, and I have, they could only go back to when Persia became, if they could do that, when Persia became Iran. They could do that. They can't go before that. They don't know nothing about them being Elamites. They don't even know that. Why? Because they don't read this book. They don't read this book. Okay? And the Quran don't tell them this. They don't know nothing about it. Okay? So now you have the Elamites. Jeremiah chapter 49, beginning at verse 34. The word of Yahweh that came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, king of Judah, saying, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, Behold, I will break the bow of Elam, the chief of their might. And upon Elam I will bring 4 winds from the 4 quarters of heaven, and will scatter them toward all those winds. So he said, the original people, I'm scattering y'all. Just like us. See? And there shall be no nation, whether the outcasts of Elam shall not come, scattered into all the earth. Semites, the firstborn of Shem, Elam. For I will cause Elam to be dismayed before their enemies and before them that seek their life. And I will bring evil upon them, even my fierce anger, saith Yahweh. And I will send the sword after them till I have consumed them. And I will, watch this now, and I will set my throne in Elam, and I will destroy from thence the king and the princes, saith Yahweh. But, verse 39, but it shall come to pass in the latter days that I will bring again the captivity of Elam. So again, the original inhabitants of all of these lands, with the exception of the Philistines, are going to be back. The original inhabitants are going to be back, but they're all going to be subservient to Israel. They're all going to worship Yahweh. They're not going to be worshiping Chemosh, Ishtar, Baal. They're not going to do that no more. It's going to be just worshiping Yahweh. They're going to be part of a kingdom of righteousness. But the people that overtook them from the north, the children of Yefet and the children of the they're going to be destroyed. Because they're going to try to fight against Yah in the Messiah. Okay? Bible shows us everything. It's all here, y'all. You just got to read it. It's all here. I'll bring again their captivity in the latter days. He said the same thing about Edom, Moab, Ammon, same thing. And bring again your captivity. And all the nations round about Israel. Now, he didn't say that about every single one, as we said. He didn't say it about the Philistine. I don't think he said about Kedar or Damascus. He didn't say about them. Because probably their land is going to be all now Israelite land. Anyway, so the Most High is good. You know, he has salvation for every person that wants salvation. There's no group of people that's going to be totally lost except the totally unrepentant people. I want to make that clear. But he also showing us the future by telling us there are going to be repentant people from among these nations, and I'm going to bring them back. He's telling us that. Okay, we read it. So it's here. See, so that's what I'm saying. So again, you're going to have unrepentant ones from all nations. You're going to have Israelites, sinners among his people going to be destroyed, sellouts. You're going to have, of course, the heathen nations, the children of Yefet, Gog and Magog going to try to take the city, destroy. But then he said, I'm going to take a fifth of y'all. No, wait, 1/6. What is it? 1/6. 1/6. Ezekiel chapter 39. Ezekiel chapter 39. See, the Most High is not trying to just kill everybody. He's trying to save people. Besides, they're trying to save people. But people want power and greed over salvation and righteousness. It's simple as that. But notice what it says. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 1 and 2. Therefore, thou son of man, prophecy against Gog, and say, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. But notice what he said. And I will turn thee back and leave but the sixth part of thee. And I will cause thee to come up from the north parts and will bring thee upon the mountains of Israel. So he's going to save the sixth part of them. That's what he's telling us. So he's telling us there's going to be repentance upon them. Some are going to come to the truth. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that already. Right? We're seeing it right now. There's going to be repentance among the children of Yefet. They're going to come to him, but it's not in any way going to be the majority, not even close, as we saw and as we're seeing right now. We're seeing that. Okay, we're seeing it. We're going to see more, though. The 144,000, you're going to be hearing voices from all over the earth, giving the message that I just gave you. You're going to be hearing more powerful than that, more powerful in the spirit. And people are going to be like, wait, who are these people? What is this movement? And they're going to try to stomp it out, but it's not going to be able to be stomped out. Can you stop the air from the sky? Can you stop the sun from rising and setting? Then you can stop it, because you won't be able to stop it, because it's of Yah. Okay, and you're going to have the 144,000 rise up out of their places and preach this message of truth to all the nations, from all the nations. You're going to see them scattered in all the nations, and they'll be preaching this message. Well, you may not see them because, as my boy Gil Scott Heron said, the revolution is not going to be televised. That's the truth. The revolution is not going to be televised. There it is. Yes, it does. Definitely does. If we bother to read it, it definitely has the answers to all life's questions is in this King James Bible. All life's questions are answered in here. There's no question they have about life that cannot be answered in this book. It's just a matter of prayerfully reading. Well, that's Jeremiah chapter 49. Now, next week, we're really chapter 50 and 51, man. Babylon, y'all. We got a lot to go over about Babylon. Okay, a lot to go over. As you see, Babylon is heavy in the book of Revelation. And of course, it's heavy in Jeremiah, and they are connected. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so please have a safe, blessed path of righteousness and peace for you and your family. Be safe out there. I hope you're in good health and your family's in good health. I pray that you are following the paths of righteousness and light for the name's sake of Yahweh, our Most High and his Son, Messiah Yahushua, and that by the Father Yahweh's Spirit, you are being led into paths of righteousness and truth and peace. Let the Most High bless you and keep you. The Most High cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom.